Welcome to the Brain Gain Youngstown Leadership Series podcast. Each week, we'll learn from leaders who are driving change and making an impact. Now here's your host, the CEO of the Youngstown Publishing Company, Jeff Leo Herman.
So here we are with Chris Sammartino at the Moransky Companies, right at HQ, right?
Yeah, good to have you here at the headquarters.
Chris, thanks for having us in. I'm going to start this interview in a different place than we normally start. Let's talk about being sports dads.
Yeah, an interesting title. I'm two-sided, so I have two daughters and a son. So I'm a dance dad for the girls, and my oldest daughter is also in cheerleading in Ursuline. And then my son is involved in basketball and football and golf. But it's an interesting thing. It's just as competitive for the parents, I think, as it is for the kids. And
right.
You know, when you have a passion for something and you want to see your kids do well, and you're at their events and you're cheering them on, the girls at dance always tease me because I'm the dad in the audience that's, you know, yelling loud and hooting and hollering, and they say, "Mr. Sam, we could hear you every time," and I'm trying not to embarrass them, but I'm trying to encourage them. And then, you know, my son, same thing at basketball. You want to be the one cheering loud and not yelling at the refs, but sometimes it's hard to do.
Can't help it.
On the golf course, it's even worse. He's really gotten into golf the last 2 or 3 years, and trying not to tell him what to do, trying to tell him what to do. And I'm not, you know, really a golfer myself, but obviously I'm around it daily, and it's a different approach. And you got to know where that balance is. I think it's like work. You got to know where that happy medium is sometimes with the people you're managing or the kids you're cheering for, and it's definitely a different thing.
I think cheering is the key word, right?
Yeah.
And so the reason I bring that up, I remember when I first moved back to town, you're probably one of the first people I met.
Yeah.
As I recall very specifically, Hilltop Elementary School, I think our kids were on the same flag football team.
Yep.
And at that time, you know, there's a community building opportunity here, right? So you can be, I see some of the dads ganging up, and it's like ESPN. They're, you know, what are they, 8, 9 years old?
Yeah.
And they're out there
and that's what
analyzing
you say.
the game.
Like, hey, it's 8, 9-year-old flag football.
Right.
This isn't the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But
you always, you had a more, you know, especially, you know, just a observational, positive approach, just kind of there for support and cheering.
Yeah,
right?
you want to be positive, and you want to teach your kids the right things, and you don't want to embarrass them. But and you don't want to be that dad that thinks he know. If that was the case, I guess we'd be out there coaching or doing whatever.
Exactly.
And I didn't want to do that, but I give all the credit to the guys that do it, and they put in a lot of time. But sometimes you don't always agree with them, but you know you have to go with it. So
well, it's interesting because you know. Sometimes I'm the type of sports dad that's typically off to the side with one earbud and listening to a podcast and watching the game because I try not to get in the mix on it, you know, and once again, I'll cheer.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking I missed an opportunity 10 years ago. Well, we'll call it 7 years ago to get to know you better.
Yeah.
Because I could have probably dug in a little bit. Hey, Chris, what are you up to? What's going on?
Right. Sometimes you stay in your own little bubble, and then other times it's crazy.
You never know.
You don't want to miss anything in the game, but yet you want to understand what's going on with others.
Yeah. And it's, you know, you obviously you could bring up work things, but then it's like, we're done with work. Let's focus on the kids. So I just think about that, building the business community, and there are different levels of connecting points, and we have a connection point, you know, with our kids, right? They're the same age, same schools, and things of that nature. So. I mean, speaking of being kids, what did you want to do growing up? Like as a young guy, did you?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's kind of twofold. My father had a local moving company in town for 20 plus years, and I grew up being around that, working there during high school and into college, and was around it and lived it every day in the summer and what have you. And I've always thought that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that over, and it's going to be mine, and I'm going to work hard at it. But the cards changed. Him and his partner decided to sell it, and it was a good thing for them. And then that put me into something else, and then eventually, into the car business. Back in that time, and that worked out really well for me. But, even prior to that, I thought I always wanted to own my own restaurant. I always wanted to be in the food business.
Nice.
Which is, crazy now because that's, I'm in the food and beverage and hospitality industry. And while it's not my own, you have to treat it like it's your own. And I've been with Ed since day one with the Lake Club, and we've seen that, grow in the last 12 years. And from all aspects, and it's, you have your own restaurant, you have the banquet side of things, we're doing, parties and events and all that. So I like being involved in all those details. I didn't think it would be, when you look at a young age, you see, this restaurant owner and he's sitting there, dressed up and he's hanging out, eating, and he's talking to tables and all that. But boy, it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than just buying someone a drink and saying hi. It's a lot of work, and but it's also very rewarding. So,
wait, if you don't mind, just run kind of your scope off. So the scope of the things that you just mentioned several there.
Yeah. So I worked for my father for a long time during high school and that, and then I was a Boardman High School graduate, and then I went to YSU for 2 years. And then Bob Stackhouse, his son was one of my best friends, and one day he called me and said, I think you should give the car business a shot. And I'm like, selling cars? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to do that. And he's like, why? And I'm like, I just don't think that's for me, and I don't think that I would like it. And he's like, just will you give it a shot? And I'm like, I don't know, let me think about it. And then, I figured, well, what do I got to lose? So I tried it, and, he introduced me to everybody, and he went on vacation, and 30 days later he came back and he said, what do you think? I said, I've just been waiting for you to come back. I hate it. And he said, what do you mean you hate it? I said, no one's helping me. No one's training me. They're just, I think they think I'm just here like watching over things for you, and I'm like a spy or something. And he said, walked into the office, called all the managers, slammed the door, went on a tirade and said, I want him trained. From that day, when people started to spend the time with me, they trained me. I ended up being in the car business for 17 years.
Wow.
I worked for him, for the first 4 years, and then unfortunately he fell ill and ended up passing away. But he gave me an amazing opportunity that I started in sales, and then he put me into the management program, and then I was fortunate enough to go to work for the Sweeney family, and worked for them for 14 years in all different positions. And at the end, I was obviously operating and oversaw both stores, and we had acquired Chevy and all that. And then Ed Moransky was always a great friend, and I sold him cars, and I knew his family, and he came to me one day and said, I have an opportunity for you. And I said, what's that? And he said, I want you to be my chief operating officer for the food and hospitality side, which is the Auntie Anne's Pretzels.
Yeah.
And then that was when he was acquiring the Lake Club. And of course now we have Rise Pies as well. And I said, I don't know. I don't know anything about pretzels and lemonade. I said, I know everything there is to know about cars. But, that was in 2008 when the economy was tanking and the car business was sketchy, and it was just uncertainty. And we were having our second child, and the hours were long, and, some of those things. And I said, well, let me think about it. And he said, don't worry about the pretzel and lemonade side. I could teach you that. You have the people skills that I need and I want, and you know how to manage people, and you know how to establish relationships, and that's more what I'm looking for. And so I went home and I talked to my wife. We went back and forth for a month, and she said, obviously, I'll support you in whatever you do. And I just said, if I don't try it, I'll never know. And if I try it and it doesn't work, then I'll go back to the car business. If there's nothing in management, I'll go back to selling cars. I have no problem with that. Yeah. But so, 12 years later, it obviously has worked really well. And
absolutely.
It's been an awesome adventure. And I left the Sweeneys on good terms, and I still talk to them, monthly, yearly, and do some stuff with them and work on different charity stuff with them. Alexa's also on the United Way board that I'm on with her.
Is there a consistent theme here? So hospitality, it's engagement, it's service, it's providing a great atmosphere. Is that?
I think
it seems
people.
like that's
It's the people and that's people say, what do you miss about the car business? And I say, there's some things I miss and there's some things I don't, but the people is what I truly miss. I mean, even from the early days of selling cars, you would, Mr. and Mrs. Smith would come in, you would take care of them, you put them in a new car, they're happy, and you take care of them during the process. The next thing you know, someone's showing up out of the clear blue and saying, I'm Mr. and Mrs. Smith's, daughter or son or what have you, and they told me to come see you about buying a car, and it's like, wow, okay, that's good. And you sell another car, and of course that was all commission based, so it was about who you knew and how good you took care of the customer. And this is the side with Ed is very similar. It's different things, but it's the people at the Lake Club, it's the members, it's their guests, it's the people that are having the event and their guests, and making sure we have the right team and we're taking care of that. And then on the pretzel side and the pizza side, it's all the employees. We have over 1,000 employees on that side, and it's making sure that they have a good place to work, a great place, and they have great opportunity, and that they want to be there, and that we're providing them the tools to be successful, and watching over that. I take that seriously. When we lose someone or someone decides to do something different, it's could we have done something better, or did we do something wrong, or we're not always perfect. But yeah, I think my whole gamut of everything was always tied in. I love being around people. I love talking to people. You're kind of either a salesman or you're not. My brothers and sister, they're in education, teachers and administrators, and they would not. They always say how different we are, and we are, because I love the sales aspect and the people aspect, and they love the other side of it. So.
Well, I read something, to sell is human. So I think we all sell to some extent, right? Because your brother has to take care of parents and the students.
It's just a different way.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So is there, the hospitality food business, what leadership style do you need? Because that's a business, like you mentioned, there could be turnover. You're probably dealing with younger staff members.
You are.
How do you deal with that?
It's an adjustment. I've always, leadership-wise, I remember when I had leaders that weren't upfront, straightforward, that beat around the bush, and it never worked out well. And I never liked that feeling of not knowing or asking questions and not getting the answers. So I always said I was going to do it different. So I always say sometimes when I'm having a stern conversation with someone, I'm always going to tell you exactly how I feel. I'm always going to tell you where I think you need to improve or what you did right, and I'm going to be your biggest supporter, but I'm also going to be there to tell you that, we have to do it this way. I hate to say stern, but I've been more structured and more to the point, and I don't think I think it's helped me, and I don't think it's hurt me. But I feel like it's a better leadership style to be up front with people and let them know exactly where they stand, what you like, what you don't like. I don't believe in, watching after them every single day and being on top of them. I think that people have to, we have to manage expectations, and we have to tell them what we expect, but we have to give them a chance to do their job. And even Ed told me a long time ago when I was first getting involved and asking some questions, he's like, I hired you to do the job, and I trust you to do the job. And if you have people under you that feel like that aren't getting the job done, then you have the wrong person. And I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of great people around me, and I have a lot of great people around me now. It's part of our success. But I think they know where they stand, and they know I'm always going to be there for them. And, when COVID hit, and we went to a more, shortened down staff at the Lake Club, I was the first one to say, I'll be there with you in the kitchen to figure out carry out and bag food and the see what we're doing. And I think it's important, it's all, it's a cliche, but it's that lead by example. And I think your people have to understand and see that from you. And if you're just sitting back in the trenches, I try to communicate with all the people in the field, with our managers, and see what's, a lot of times they'll say, "Uh-oh, what did I do?" I said, it doesn't always have to be about that.
Yeah.
And they start laughing. I'm like, I'm just calling to check on you, make sure, all right, what are we doing? Are our people supporting you? What do you need? Say hi, hopefully, come see you soon. But
is there a screening criteria? So to hire, because you agree, right? You set expectations, and then you let people go.
Yeah.
So is the recruiting process or the screening process up front a little more strict? Because you probably hire a lot based upon culture, like fit, right?
Yeah, on the pretzel side, it's a little bit more difficult right now. It's not a glorious job, and no matter what age you are, not every young person or older person wants to put on a visor and an apron and a uniform shirt, and it's a working position. Even from a man, we always tell our managers, you're working managers, so you're in there making the dough, you're in there making the pretzel. The same thing with the Lake Club side. Our key people are in the trenches, and it's not all just putting on a suit and walking around and shaking hands, but I think the process is always a little bit different. It depends on the position. But the criteria changes so fast because, you're always trying to get better, and you're always staffing is always, has been our most difficult thing lately, and it's trying to find the right fit for everyone. And a lot of people just don't have the great work ethic that, that's what's frustrating, I think, from the management side of things with people, my senior people under me that are leaders. I try to tell them sometimes they're not going to do it the way you want it. They're not going to be you. We got to try to get them to that point, but it's not always going to be that way, and you got to know when to adjust. And I think I learned that a long time ago too, and way back into the car business, like you would get so frustrated, then you just had to be like, you have to realize what you have and just try to mold that into something. And that was challenging but rewarding because they're just not going to do things the same way, but you just try to keep teaching and coaching and motivating and creating excitement and enthusiasm. But at the end of the day, I think it all comes down to if you have a passion. You have to have a passion for what you're doing. And, as a leader, you for sure have to have that passion. And I think your people could feed off of that.
Right. Have you observed, say, younger staff members that have stayed with you over time, and it's interesting work ethic, right? And so I hate to say kids these days.
No,
but,
I have some great people that have worked at the Lake Club and are now at the office with us. Have started in high school, went to college, graduated college, maybe thought they were going into something else and went into something with us. I mean, we identified people, and Ed and I talk about it all the time. Sometimes you see people and you're like, that's a good person. We got to figure out something for them inside our company. And we have a lot of different avenues, and you hope you have something for them. And sometimes you don't, but there's some people out there that just have that it factor. They get it. They're hardworking. They're dedicated. They dress or look the part. Their personality exudes, confidence, and they're not cocky, but they're confident. And I think the biggest challenge, that we all have with some of the younger people coming up is that they want everything right now. And we, me, you, people more our age, we took every different step, and we kept working and getting better and better. And we had opportunities. They just sometimes can't. You try to explain the big picture, like they want X, but I can pay you Y, which I think is really good and a great opportunity, but you have to give it some time. You just can't go from A to Z. That out of college, they just think, well, I graduated college and now I'm here for my, big paycheck per se. And sometimes that's, the opportunity is better than you thought, but it's not quite that. But the carrot is there at the end of the stick. So.
Just help them, give them the vision, if you will.
Yeah.
I want to switch gears a little bit because you're actively involved with the United Way, and you're actively involved in giving back to the community. The whole Moransky companies are actively involved. What do you see from a mentorship program? So mentorship programs are something that we're trying to cover quite a bit. The United Way has great mentorship programs. What impact do you think the report card mentoring? That's
that's one of my favorite things with United Way. I mean, I've been fortunate I got in the United Way workplace campaign back with the Sweeneys, and then when I came here, obviously Ed was very involved, and we built on the workplace campaign here. And then I was able to join the board, and I've been on the board and, served in a lot of different roles, but probably my favorite role is the report card mentoring. I just think that there's so many, young people out there that don't have the same opportunities that some of our children do, and you take that for granted sometimes. But when you see it and you're with them, you instantly have a soft spot for them, and you want to do more to help them, and you want to be there to mentor them and teach them and give them advice and help them along the way. And my wife's now a report card mentor, and we got a lot of different couples of our friends that we hang around that are involved, and they were just like, the first time they went, they're like, they just like sat back, and I'm like, what's the matter? And they're like, this is so powerful. This is unbelievable. I said, I told you, it's not that you're looking for something to be rewarding, but you feel good when you walk out of there. And that's why I've been so passionate about United Way. I just don't, and I said it when I chaired the gala, and I spoke in front of the group. I said, it's just not about you being here and giving us X amount of dollars. It's about volunteering and being around the kids or the young women or the young men and doing things to help them out. I said, it's going to be way more rewarding for you when you see that side of things, and we need as many people. And same thing with the Saturday Day of Caring. My wife and I delivered food to some people in those first couple weeks, and we had our list, and we were going. It was just, it's eye-opening. It's everything's not just, peaches and cream, and if we could just do our little part, at Christmas we do the Christmas tree and we go out and buy for the kids, and that's all. I just have been taught from a young age to do what you can and give back, and I feel like we have some opportunities, and that's where I think in Youngstown, Ohio, and Ed preaches it all the time, more people can do more things.
As I say, do you think our community's invested enough, broadly speaking, or is it the same people doing the same stuff all the time?
It's sometimes the same people doing the same stuff, and that's where I told Bob Hannon, as much as I've gotten involved in United Way, that I hope that I can get, younger people, when I say younger people our age or younger, to get involved and to take, like some people just don't think about it. And again, it's just not from I'm not saying you have to give, X amount of dollars, but, come and see what we're up against and see how we can make a difference. And, I talk about all the time. In my very first, year here, we did the Christmas gift thing, and, Ed and his wife said, why don't you and Lisa come, and, we're going to give out the gifts, and Santa's going to be there, and Chick-fil-A's doing food, and Coco's Pizza's doing pizza, and we went there, and we just walked out of there like, wow, this was unbelievable. And then I got a call from Ed like 5 minutes later, and he's like, we're making a difference. Just know that we're making a difference. And I'm like, I could see it, and I'm in. I'll do whatever I can. I mean, it's hard balancing that time. We were talking earlier with kids and, spouse and all that, and work, but there's still that. There's that time there that you could still, do it.
Right.
And I just think more people have to just take a little bit more effort. But the more you talk about it and the more, you make things happen, you see people like the night of the gala. Like I had like 10 or 15 people come up to me and say, I'm in, let me know what I can do and where I can be. And we started getting some of those people involved, and then they told some people. And, I just think it has to be a constant communication with what's going on and what we're doing and what we're accomplishing. And, I think there's a lot of good people out there that can make a big difference.
Right. And especially the outlook for our region, we're going to need, we have to start today with kids, right? And middle school and high school kids, all kids from all parts of our community. We have so many employment opportunities on the horizon with all the development at Ultium Cells and Lordstown Motors and TJX.
There's huge, and that was from a young age. I was one of the few in my class that, I graduated Boardman. We had, almost 500 graduate, and they were like, "What do you mean you don't want to go away?" I said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here."
Yeah.
Well, why? I like it here. I love it here. I want to be here. Yeah. And I had a lot of jobs, working as a valet at Tippy, working at Handel's Ice Cream with Lenny Fisher when he first bought it from Mrs. Handel and she was still there, and washing cars and doing all those kind of things to put a buck in my pocket. But along the way, I was meeting so many people and didn't even know it, that I was making so many great contacts. And that's what helped me in the car business. As soon as they knew, they were like coming to see me in the car business. And I just think there's so often people want to just get up and run out of here. But then when they leave, they see it's not really so bad.
Right.
And it's really a great place, and it's been a great place to raise a family, and it's been a great place to work and, do my small part to make a difference and to make it better. And, with YSU and being involved with that and United Way and all those different great things that you get asked to do and volunteer and help for. I think that's, we just have to continue to let people know that there is so much opportunity here, and there are so many great things that people can make a huge difference and kind of make their mark.
Right. And do you have friends that moved away that kind of check in and say, hey, what, like maybe they're thinking about coming back?
Yeah, there's been some that have left and have been very successful leaving, and there's been some that have, not that they weren't successful, but have eventually come back because they think it's a good place to raise a family. And there's, a lot of people that I keep in contact with, like, what's going on in Youngstown, this, that, and the other. And, and so I think they always know that it's their home, and it's a good place, and it continues to have its challenges, but it also continues to get better as well. So
absolutely. We're going to switch gears again, but before we do that, we're going to take a quick break to thank our sponsors. Okay.
The Brain Gain is a collaborative effort, and we'd like to thank our headlining sponsors, including Farmers National Bank, Sweeney Chevrolet Buick GMC, the Mahoning Valley Manufacturers Coalition, and Southwoods Health. Also included are Eastern Gateway Community College, PNC Bank, the Moransky Companies, the Mahoning County Career and Technical Center, the Youngstown Business Incubator, Simon Roofing, the DeBartolo Corporation, Youngstown State University, and Junior Achievement of the Mahoning Valley.
All right, Chris, so you've had a long career and you've seen lots of different situations. Just because we all learn from our mistakes, what leadership mistakes have you made in the past that were very instructive and maybe something you could share with everyone?
Yeah, I had worked for the Sweeneys for a long time. There was a group of us that left for 3 or 4 years and went to Pittsburgh. We actually worked for Mario and Michael Andretti, running some dealerships for them. During that time, we had some family things going on, some issues, and I let that get the better of me, and I got consumed with that and kind of took my eye off the ball. So I lost that position that I had, which was I was general manager of the dealership, and worked for a great friend of mine who I still talk to every month, and he's in Florida now. And we always talk about it. At the time, I couldn't believe he was, making a change for me. But at the time, he was doing the best thing that he could have did for me. And I was able to clear my head. I went back to work for the Sweeneys. I started back in sales. And I went back to them and they said, we don't have any management jobs. And you've been a manager for a long time. I said, I don't want a manager's job. I just give me a desk and a phone.
Yeah. I
don't care where it's at, and let me go do my thing. And I was able to do that very well and set some records in sales with, selling 52 cars in 1 month and having fun doing it and saying, well, I don't think I really want to go back into management.
Exactly,
But then shortly after that, they said, we need you in management. And I at first turned it down, and then another 30 days later that we really need you. And I went back into it and then ended a nice career down the road with them. But that, taught me that, sometimes, personal things, you just got to manage those as much as you have to manage anything else. And while it cost me a lot, I thought at the time it was actually the best thing for me and put me, back on track. And I learned from that and never let it happen again. So.
Right. No, that's important. You're right. It's there's a plan, right? Yeah. And plans unfold, and at the time, it's how do you deal with it? But you're right. Yeah. In hindsight, it all works out, right? Yeah. It usually all works out. Some
things you can control, and some things you can't.
Right.
But the things you can control, you got to learn from them. So.
Yeah, let it roll and learn. That's great advice. From if you think about your community involvement and your commitment to really helping the community, get the things they need, education, technology, basic supplies. We have the Brain Gain Digital Divide Gap Fund. We haven't launched it fully yet, but that's where we're basically going to start fundraising to help close the digital divide. And just really, once again, we have so many employment opportunities, and we have the population here, and a lot of the effort of the community will be to, focus on training, development, even upskilling from that standpoint. Do you have a challenge you'd like to issue to the audience, and just say an area you could see, like, boy, if we only could dig in a little deeper here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to what we were talking about with the United Way. If I think people think they don't have the time, or they just don't have that little bit of extra time to be involved. And I think that there's so many smart, intelligent, passionate people out there in Youngstown, Ohio, that they could make a difference. And I think there's that little niche for them somewhere. And I think we have to continue to challenge them to step up and say, I'm in. It's not about a money thing. It's not, we need you to donate X amount of dollars or contribute, X amount of dollars. It's making a commitment, which I think is they have to make a commitment, and they have to be passionate about it. And if they are, they can make a huge difference in our community and in the people in our community that maybe don't have the same opportunities. And I just think it's so important that we have to continue to give back. And there's not enough people that just it takes a lot of time. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of energy. And sometimes you're trying to manage your personal stuff and your business stuff, and then there's that other extra stuff. And but I mean, I think everyone can do it.
Right.
They just have to put their 2 feet forward and do it. And then once they realize that, they're like, well, this isn't as bad as I thought. If it's one meeting or a couple meetings, or it's volunteering here or whatever, I think they walk away again knowing that they truly are making a difference. They can make a difference. They will make a difference. And it could continue to get better for us.
Have you seen people that kind of come into volunteering, I don't want to say checking the box, but they just say, okay, I'll come in and check the box, who then have been, really enlightened? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that. I mean, I think it goes both ways. Sometimes it's frustrating to be involved with boards and organizations or committees that it's like, I'm not here to be acknowledged, and I'm not here for the title. I'm here because I want to work and get it done. Let's get it done. And I want to challenge the people. I mean, some of the things we do with United Way, I'm head of the marketing committee, and sometimes they have a vision and I have a vision, and they're somewhere in between. But I think it's my job to challenge them that, no, I think we could raise more than that. Like, let's go at it from this way, or, okay, all right. And I just think if that continuous challenge is there, that, that things could be different.
Right. Sounds good. Well, Chris, you've been very generous with your time. Really enjoyed learning a lot about you and kind of the impact that you guys are all making. So
I appreciate you asking me to be involved, and continue to be involved, and wish you guys the best. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today, because together we're building a culture of entrepreneurship and promoting workforce development. So if you like what you heard, please share it with a friend, and leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast player. Your feedback is very important to us. We want to make the show better all the time. And if you would like to give me direct feedback, email me, please. My email is jherrmann@business-journal.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. And lastly, would love to thank the members of the Brain Gain Coalition. Those headline collaborators include Farmers National Bank, Sweeney Chevrolet Buick GMC, the Mahoning Valley Manufacturers Coalition, and Southwoods Health. And joining them are members of the coalition, including Eastern Gateway Community College, PNC Bank, the Moransky Companies, MCCTC, the Mahoning County Career and Technical Center, the Youngstown Business Incubator, Simon Roofing, the DeBartolo Corporation, Youngstown State University, and Junior Achievement of Mahoning Valley. Without them, none of this would be possible. So thanks again for joining us today, and remember, together we are building a culture of entrepreneurship and promoting workforce development.
Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell for notifications. And also make sure to connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. For all of your business news, visit businessjournaldaily.com. For all of your arts and entertainment news, go to afterhoursyoungstown.com.